Imagine a cozy cafe. Everything's dark oak wood and inviting. It smells of freshly baked cinnamon rolls and freshly brewed coffee. There are books on display and a cat sleeping soundly on the counter. The place is filled with peace and calm, and there are people enjoying their drinks while reading or writing. There are no computers or phones to be seen. It's as if time has stopped and there's nowhere to rush. In another room, there's a group of people engaged in a quiet conversation, making new connections and learning new things. It's a friendly atmosphere of a tight-knit community that welcomes anyone new. The entire space is filled with magic. Magic that comes from books, chocolate, and mysteriously good bakes. But also from friendship, good conversation, and the cats who always keep you company and deliver exactly what you need. Welcome back to the Cat Coach Café. Me and the cat coaches, Aragorn, Apricot, and Prince, are thrilled to see you again for the very first time in 2026. This is a cozy space where we meet once a month to slow down, tune to the season, revive some old seasonal traditions, often influenced by my Czech origins, and meet people from all walks of life who all share love for cats. As I'm sure you can tell from my voice, I have started the year fighting the flu, so not exactly the start I envisioned, and I can't seem to be winning this fight just yet. But because I didn't want to postpone the episode and leave you hanging at the start of a new year without some cat inspiration, I decided to simply keep it short today so you don't have to listen to my congested voice for too long and leave it up to our today's guest mostly, author Carlie Sorosiak, who will inspire us to look at life through the eyes of an alien cat. Before that, let us slow down a little and get cozy after all that hustle and bustle of the festive season. Do you have your hot drink of choice ready? If not, go and get one. We're about to start, as always, with our short drink meditation. Wrap the palms of your hands around your mug. Let the warm feeling fill your body. Doesn't it feel just so comforting? That warmth coming from the mug to your palms. Close your eyes for a moment and let the warmth travel all the way through your body. Now take a delicious deep breath and then exhale with a sigh. And then exhale with a sigh. Open your eyes and look at your drink. Notice the color. What color is it? Then take the mug closer to you and deeply inhale its scent. Do it once again with your eyes closed. What does it smell like? Can you recognize the ingredients? Or perhaps get a more of an emotional response to the smell? Does it smell like chamomile, perhaps, or coffee, or rather like joy? Does it bring back some memories? Or perhaps it makes you feel stronger, more inspired, more alive. And maybe it just brings you to the exotic far, and maybe it just brings you to the exotic lands where it grew. And perhaps it's a combination of all of these. Just Take it all in. And when you're ready, take your first sip. Slowly. Fully taking in its flavor. Does the taste surprise you? Or is it just how you expected it based on the smell? Take another sip and once again notice how it makes you feel. What emotions it brings. What memories or ideas. If you have a notebook and pen by your side, feel free to pause the podcast and make some notes if you feel inspired. And then, whenever you're ready, continue sipping your drink at your own pace while listening to today's episode. I love January. I love the slow winter days, stripped down of the pressures of the festive season. I always feel January is the time to truly slow down and care for oneself. It is the true self-care month, a time to nurture ourselves and go deep within, a time to be with ourselves guilt-free. January is also no time for setting any new goals and resolutions, unlike what the outside world would have you believe, because it is a time of deep sleep. In nature, nothing is growing, yet everything is hibernating, and so should we. That said, with the collective energy surrounding New Year, you may be called to set some intentions for the year ahead, but those would be more energetic, like, how do you want to feel this year? Or what kind of experiences would you like to have more of? But you don't need to create a plan of how to achieve that just yet. You may not even know at this point how to achieve that. And that's completely fine. For now, just let your answer linger and let it grow and come to fruition in spring. For me, I know that I would like to live my life in a more analog way this year, meaning using as little technology and being online as little as possible and doing life the old way. I don't know how exactly to do that yet, but I know this will be something I will want to focus on in the coming year. And that's all I need to know for now. And if you don't feel called to set any intentions, that is absolutely fine too. For now, let's just focus on resting and the magic of winter. Just like Susie Redding describes in her lovely book Self-Care for Winter, which I will read a short snippet from just now. The snow reminds us of nature's awe-inspiring power, that few things can bring life to a grinding halt. When we see the plume of our breath or hear the sound of snow crunching underfoot, it is a precious opportunity to savor the sensory experiences exclusive to winter. It's a chance to zoom in and see the power of nature's beauty in full force. Whether that's the intricate fractal patterns of snowflakes or frost-encrusted cars glinting like diamonds in the morning light. Winter turns even the most humdrum landscape into exquisite works of art. In the vast space between the snow days, there is a distinct beauty to the silhouette of bare branches against the stark sky, revealing the inhabitants of the trees formerly obscured by lush foliage. This gives the conifers their turn to shine. Misty raindrops gathering on nature's naked limbs are her string of pearls, and frozen spider webs her tinsel. We see bright red berries adorning the hedgerow, and the eruption of snowdrops, crocuses, and primrose. The earth isn't dead, she's just sleeping. On occasion, The winter skyscapes themselves are breathtaking with light shows unique to this time of year. Granted, there might be days where it feels like we've not seen the sun at all. But when she appears on clear days, it's a light like no other time of year, glowing and ethereal. After a particularly bleak stretch, I can remember going for a walk along the canal in an attempt to blow away the mental cobwebs. The hedge to my side cast a shadow from my neck down, but as the sun emerged from behind the clouds, I could feel the light bath the back of my head like two cupped hands. All the sweeter for its prior absence. An experience of maybe 30 seconds, but one that has stayed with me for years. I've since learned there is a word for this experience, apricity, meaning the warmth of the winter sun, and my eyes have become fine-tuned to seek it. What do your eyes seek during winter? And what are some of your favorite things about winter? For me, it's the quiet. My soul needs the quiet so much, and my biggest struggle with spring and summer is the noise of the outside world that comes with the seasons. So the quiet of winter is something I longingly look forward to each year and only reluctantly say goodbye to in spring. And then when there's snow, that extra calmness that comes with it, when the world is finally forced to slow down, that's the true magic within our modern lives. I love that. As I love the sound of snow under my feet. And literally, just look at the snow, and even just the frost. It's the most magical thing. I love winter walks, whether there is snow or not, simply because of the sounds of the natural world, unique to this season, subtle but still present, to remind us life goes on even in the middle of winter. It just changes. The winter sounds of nature is something I fully embrace and savor. That said, the winter months can be dark indeed, which is why I strongly encourage you to keep those fairy lights all throughout January, or even all the way to spring if you wish. In my family, as many Czech households, we keep the Christmas tree all the way through January, or as long as it lasts really, before it's so dry that it doesn't really look pretty anymore, or makes too much mess. Sometimes that would be mid-January, sometimes end of January. And I remember once putting it down on Valentine's Day because it still looked so fresh and I didn't have the heart to just throw it away. But of course, around Valentine's Day, it really did feel out of place. I do this both out of respect for the tree, since we always have a fresh one. I only find it fair to use its full potential rather than throw it away after just a couple of festive days. And also because I just feel January needs those lights more than December does. Because in December, there are lights everywhere, and the anticipation of Christmas is enough to keep me cheerful. So I don't mind not having a tree at home yet. It also feels much more special if we only decorate it close to Christmas Day, rather than becoming mundane and sad as it dries by the time we get to Christmas Day, if we were to decorate it at the start of December. But January can be a bit of a dull month, especially if there is no snow outside. So I like to keep the lights and the cheer on for as long as possible. Scientifically speaking, fairy lights actually trigger the release of dopamine in our brain. So those lights literally make you happy. So it's absolutely fine to keep the decorations up for as long as you need or deem right. I remember a year when I was absolutely heartbroken during the holiday season and the New Year. I remember a year when I was absolutely heartbroken during the holiday season and the New Year. And the cheerful Christmas tree with all the lights became my best friend. the one thing that sparked any joy within me. My soul just needed those lights so much. While other years I may want to move forward much quicker. So do whatever your soul is asking you for. And don't feel any shame about anything that you decide. There's nothing wrong with whatever you choose this year. Now let's listen to some wisdom of your cat coach Apricot for the new year. Hey guys! So it seems to be a new year again according to the human calculations, and as with every human invention, there are some pretty peculiar customs surrounding it, like the infamous New Year's resolutions, as if the new year was some magical spell that would allow you folks to suddenly become the best version of yourself, just because some number in your invented calendar changed. Perhaps you watched too many of those fairy tales during Christmas? But anyway, I don't know about you, but I usually have my paws pretty full even without trying to reinvent myself. Not that I would ever want to. The only thing worth reinventing is your hiding space, especially if, like me, you keep on being abducted and brought to the vet against your will. You see, the humans have been capturing me once more and dragging me to the vet person who honestly has no idea what good manners are, just because I slept a little too much and vomited a couple of times. I have to admit I feel better now, but that surely doesn't have anything to do with the vet visits. So, thinking of ways to prevent that kind of abduction keeps me pretty busy on normal days, as I'm sure you have far more important things to worry about yourself, and which keep you busy too. So don't be adding to your already full bowl, especially at this time of year when it's so easy to fall asleep and get captured. That alone is a big enough fight. Rather, focus your energy on not getting overwhelmed and on simplifying so you can actually spot the moment someone tries to catch you and have enough wits and energy at that moment to face the situation and escape, because that can significantly improve your life. And that's what it really is about. You can never reinvent yourself, but you can always reinvent your life if you have a clear enough mind. So clear away all the nonsense and proceed with catfidence. You can read more wisdom from your cat coaches about the new year in Aragorn's last year's Cat Coach Diaries up on Substack called New Year, Same You, and many others from the past. So I invite you to check it out at moniforce.substack.com or catcoachdiaries.substack.com. Both links will get you there, and you will find them in the show notes. I'm thrilled to welcome at the Cat Coach Café today Carlie Sorosiak, a best-selling children's author whose fiction titles include Waterstone's Children's Book of the Month, I Cosmo, as well as Leonard, My Life as a Cat, Always Clementine, and Shadow Fox. She has a master's in English from Oxford University and another in publishing from City University of London, and she currently volunteers at a cat shelter. She is the author of A World of Dogs and its follow-up A World of Cats. And we talked all about her obvious love for both writing and cats, and how animals inspire her life and her work, which is full of brilliant, heartwarming humor.
Humans have it all wrong about aliens. Sometimes I see images of us on television with enormous eyes, with skin the color of spring leaves, and I wonder, who thought of this? What reason could they have? Olive always tells me not to watch those shows. You'll just give yourself bad dreams, she says. So we switch off the TV and curl up by the window, listening to the gentle hush of waves. But the truth is, I really don't belong here. Not permanently, not forever. That's why we're traveling in this Winnebago, zooming down dark roads at midnight. Olive is wearing her frayed overalls, and she's cradling me in her arms. I don't squirm. I don't scratch. I am not that type of cat. You won't forget me, she says, pressing her forehead to mine. Please promise you won't. She smells of cinnamon toast and raspberry shampoo. There are daisy barrettes in her hair. And for a second, I consider lying to her out of love. The words are right there. I will always remember. I could never forget. But I've been honest with her this whole time, and the rules of intergalactic travel are clear. Tomorrow, I will forget everything I've ever felt. In my mind, Olive will exist only as data, as pure information. I'll remember her daisy barrettes, our Saturday afternoons at Wrigley Pier, but not how it felt to share a beach towel, or read together, or fall asleep under the late June sun. And Olive doesn't deserve that. She is so much more than a collection of facts. Half-heartedly, I summon a purr. It rattles weakly in my chest. You get to go home, Olive says, with the ghost of a smile on her face. Home. The Winnebago speeds faster, then faster still. Outside, the sky is full of stars. And I want to communicate that I will miss this, feeling so small, so earthly. Am I ready to go back? Half of me is. And yet, when I close my eyes, I picture myself clinging to the walls of this motorhome. Olive sets me down on the countertop, the plastic cool under my paws. Opening her laptop, she angles the keyboard towards me, a gesture that says, type, will you? But I shake my head, fur shivering. You don't want to talk, she asks. What can I say? I owe it to Olive not to make this any harder. So I won't use the computer. I won't tell her what I've been hoping, to maybe carry one thing back. Maybe if I concentrate hard enough, a part of Olive will imprint on a part of me, and I will remember how it felt to know a girl once. And it goes on a little bit from that, but basically, as we learn, Leonard is not an ordinary cat. He's actually an alien in the body of a cat. And it was quite complicated as an author to make sure I got the voice distinctly right. You know, he's an immortal being, but at the same time, he is very much feeling like a cat and everything that that incorporates. So getting that halfway point was definitely a creative challenge.
But you accomplished something really magical, because I have to say, I don't know, I think it's probably the combination that you just described, like the cat, which I love cats and, you know, I relate to cats and all that. But at the same time, the alien side, like you created something that touches my heart and soul on such a deep level that nothing ever can. Like even now, you just read that beginning, I'm just getting all teary. It's just, I don't know, it just, that book, I finished rereading it last night again ahead of the interview, and I'm like, once again, I'm like, this is just like, unlike anything else, this makes me feel so much, this book. And yeah, and I'm like, I can't quite imagine that children would even get out of it what, you know, I can get out of it as an adult. And it's just, yeah, it's like definitely like in my top books ever.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
so
That makes me
beautiful.
so happy. Yeah. And I just incorporated a lot of things that I really love as a person. Because obviously the book is a lot about Leonard finding a humanity and, you know, what it means to be a human, and almost like this anthropological perspective of an alien and also a cat coming in and figuring out what humanity is all about. And I was trying to think about the things that I really love about being human. And at the time, I was also working as a poetry professor. And obviously, a lot of those questions are like, you know, what does it mean to be alive? What does it mean to be here? And so that's part of the reason why I gave Leonard an interest in poetry. So I just know a lot of things I like Leonard really wants to try a cheese sandwich. I love cheese sandwiches. I think that, you know, the more you can incorporate your own humanity as an author, the more you can get your characters to feel real and alive, and it can and also touch your readers. Like a personal experience also ends up being a universal experience.
Which I feel like from that book, it shows like how in touch you are yourself with life, which is beautiful. Because to me, this is like a really, it's honestly, it's better than any self-help book I've ever read about mindfulness or something, because just real that character of the cat, alien cat, but still a cat, but with the alien eyes. it's like, you know, how he keeps pointing out these little things that we take for granted. Like he's so excited about a raincoat, about umbrella, about, you know, toaster and all these little things. It just really makes you open your eyes to, wow, it's actually really great to be alive. Like, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah. It's interesting because I'm having the same experiences now because I have a toddler and just the things that
mm,
he is interested in.
mm,
Like crayons. Leonard likes crayons. My toddler really loves crayons, and there's just something, you know, just so joyous about being so firmly in the moment and looking at ordinary things around your house that he is just super, super excited about. Like buckets, they hold water. Water's pretty cool. Like just things
yeah,
that I you would just kind of take for granted. Just like
yeah,
really nice tasting food, nice scents in the garden, sunshine, just bringing it back to that really elemental level, which I think is something that children do. And I think that that's something that animals do. And maybe that's
yeah.
why children and animals have this really like special connection. I was reading this book a while ago and I'm not going to be able to remember the name of it, but it's, you know, an adult nonfiction book about how when kids are younger they've done like experiments about kids in the classrooms with like classroom pets. For example, if you walk by a turtle, the turtle is going to be very afraid if you walk by extremely quickly. Kids don't actually even have to be told to walk slowly by the turtle. They just know that that would innately frighten the turtle and they kind of walk slowly by the class pet.
Mm,
And I think that that's something that we might lose as adults is recognizing like the soul of animals, which is something that
mm.
kids do um, innately.
Mm, yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, there is a. I have a 3-year-old niece, and
Mhm.
yeah, and 3 cats for 13 years now, and I can see so many similarities as well. Like, it's like
Yeah.
first my cats taught me about being more present, about, you know, being excited about little things, and now it's my little niece, and yeah, it's like back in the days when when I only just got my cats, I would talk with my colleagues at work who had young children about my cats, and they just had young children, and we would be already finding like the similarities, but now I'm really experiencing it firsthand. It's so funny.
It's super similar and
Yeah.
down to, and this is something that I found fascinating, down to like the smell. And this is as soon as everyone talks about like smelling the head of a baby and how there's that like specific newborn scent that just smells wonderful. It smells the same as a kitten. It just does. Like if you like nuzzle your nose into a kitten, it smells to me the same as a newborn. And I found that
Mm.
absolutely incredible. It's like it's the cat smell. They just
Yeah,
smell like
yeah.
cat. So, and like the mewling sound that they do is very similar to the cry of a kitten. And I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit later, but I work at a cat shelter as an adoptions counselor, and we have like a kitten room. And every time I go in there, it's like it's the baby room.
Yeah, yeah,
It's just
yeah.
only babies. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's why adult cats also react to human babies' cries, right? Because it's so
Mhm.
similar.
Yep,
Mm.
yep. And I we had a cat named Bella, who we actually just had to put down last week.
Oh.
And she was, an older cat. And she was just so good with him instantly. Like there was nothing that we had to, obviously we couldn't explain to her, like, this is a baby, you have to.
Mm.
But she was kind of like my childhood cat and, still with my parents. And we brought my son to her and she just really took him under her wing and he would try to feed her like human treats and she was like, no thank you, but I appreciate it. And
Mm.
just a really just kind cat. And then we
Oh.
had my parents' other 2 cats, Boo and Duncan, were like, what are you? I don't want anything to do with you. You seem very loud. So
Yeah, it's like
just
my
a valid response.
yeah, when my cats first met my niece, they were like, "What's this strange thing?"
Mhm.
I always joked out. They were thinking like, "What's this like bear kitten human weird
Yeah.
thing.
Mhm.
But yeah. But going back to your book, I wonder, I couldn't stop wondering when I was reading the book, was there a particular cat that inspired you and that you shaved Leonard by?
So it probably would have been Bella,
Mm.
just because she was a polydactyl cat. And so that meant she had like extra digits on each of her paws. So on one paw, I
Oh,
think she had
wow.
like 8, and one she had like 7. And that meant she could hold things like pens. And I
Wow.
was thinking about, Leonard with the crayon and, writing alien on the wall. And I just kept going back to Bella and like that sweetness and kindness. And so probably would have been Bella at that point. But we've had been lucky to have just so many amazing cats. My first cat growing up, her name was Bailey, and she was just so patient with me and so gentle with me. And um I also think that all cats have a little bit of alien in them, and it's not just like the
Exactly.
alien green eyes, but they look like they know secrets.
Yeah,
They look
for
like
sure.
they've seen some things that we might not
Yeah.
necessarily know about. So Bella, but also just all cats in general.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking when I was reading the book, that I was like, first I was like, an alien cat, that's an interesting idea. But then I was reading it and I'm like, well, it makes perfect sense because we
Yeah.
all know cats that are looking at us in a way that, you know,
Yeah.
they know something we don't know, or like
Yeah.
they're from a different world. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And there's always been that fascination with
Mhm.
cats, and even going back to ancient Egypt of, cat deities and cat gods. And I just think that as humans, we kind of instinctively know that there's maybe something else going on with cats. I'll just say that.
Yeah, yeah. Like, yeah. So when you started working on this book, was that really like an idea of a children's book, or has that been pitched as a children's book because of, I don't know, the topic, or that you felt that that would, be more interesting to agents as a children's book? Because if,
Yeah.
as I said, to me, it just really doesn't feel like it's perfectly suitable for children, of course, but it just really doesn't feel like just a children's book. So I
Yeah.
wonder how that evolved.
That's a good question. So I was actually under a 2-book contract, and this was the second book in a series of children's books. So my first book was called I, Cosmo, and it's basically like Leonard, but the same sort of feeling
Mm.
and mindfulness, but from a perspective of a golden retriever. So I had written that book, and I knew that I needed a follow-up to I, Cosmo. And I thought, okay, what comes after dogs? Cats. But I was also toying with the idea of this, really friendly alien. And I thought, what would happen if I just mashed them together? And it's like, oh, it's perfect. You can do both at the same time, alien cat. Um, but it had to be for children based on my contract. And I have a really
Mm.
lovely publisher in the UK called Nosy Crow, and I had a really wonderful editor at the time, named Tom Bonnick. And I think that he understood that children's books can really transcend those boundaries, that the types
Mm.
of books that speak to you like at a soul level as a child are the types of books that would also speak to adults. So I hear from adults through my website just as much as I hear through like 11-year-olds. Or it's often people who are reading the books to their children or to their grandchildren, saying like, I read this to my grandchildren and I thought it was going to be silly based on, the cover of the cat wearing earth glasses. But actually it ended up being one of my favorite reads that we've ever read together. So I really love the idea of it being read aloud to classrooms, in library
Mm.
settings, in between families. And I've been very lucky that it's been on numerous state book award lists. And a lot of those books are shared with parents, and the parents end up finding it too. So to answer your question in a roundabout way, it had to be a children's book contractually, but I'm very glad that it extended uh, along boundaries. And I do write for adults as well. I write a very different type of thing for adults usually, although I'm kind of transitioning, almost like melding, where I'm writing speculative fiction now for adults, but that isn't coming out, a little bit like fantastical, life affirming things, but for adults. Yeah.
Mm. So how does that, I mean, I imagine there are some contracts in place again, but how do you like switch between the two, like children's books and books for adults? That really
Yeah. I
interesting.
try not to write both at the same time, because I find that going back and forth, switching mid-project, to be really tricky. I have to keep my brain in one particular space. And I was trying, actually, after my son was born, to write a middle grade book and also like a literary fiction adult book at the same time. And it just wasn't working, because I focus a lot on what's known as register, which is like how people are perceiving, like at what level you're digesting the words. So the register of something that you would write for like a 35-year-old is very different than what you would write for like a 7-year-old. But really, I think that the main difference is content wise. So when I was writing my books, about cats, and for kind of a child audience, I don't want anything that's terrifying. I don't want anything that is too, let's say, adult, versus my first 2 books for adults were spy thrillers. There's like some more adult content in there. And that's actually why I write under a different name for adults, is I don't want any children picking up my books and being like, oh, I loved My Life as a Cat. Let me try The Takedown or Code Word Romance. It's a very different type of content. Yeah.
Which one do you enjoy writing more?
Oh gosh, probably for children. The first book that I wrote for adults, I absolutely loved, just because I love Christmas, and it was a Christmas spy thriller. And it was probably the most fun I've ever had writing a book. And then my second book that I wrote in that, I was like, I do not like this at all, but also because I was pregnant and I was trying to get the book out before the baby arrived, and that was very stressful to me. So right now, the book that I'm writing, I am not finding it fun, but I am finding it very creatively rewarding and very cathartic. So I think I would say I enjoy writing for children a lot more, because I'm pulling at that like that soul level, versus for adults, especially the book I'm writing now, I'm pulling at more of like an intellectual level. And it just feels different. Not to say that the children's books aren't intellectual, but it's a different vibe.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. You have also written a book that's called A World of Cats. Can you tell us a little bit about that book?
Yes, so this one, World of Cats. It is everything that you would ever want to know about cats. So any question you've ever had in your life about cats, I think would probably be found in this book. And it's aimed for children, ages like 7 to 10, but it can be enjoyed by anyone. It has these gorgeous illustrations by Louisa Uribe, and it says a gorgeously illustrated gift book for every cat lover to treasure, a celebration of fascinating facts, amazing real life stories, discover everything you ever wanted to know about our mysterious feline friends. And it gave me the opportunity to deep dive into the history of cats, mythology of cats, stories that I had never heard before, ancient Egyptians mythology, ship cats. I'm just looking at like cats from different countries, the Pope's cats, brave cats, cats in science, just everything that I wanted to know personally, and that I would have loved to know as a 7-year-old, or as a 34-year-old.
As a cat lover, generally.
Yes.
Give us one fun fact that is in the book.
So I believe it was in Belgium, they did this experiment about male cats versus female cats
Mm.
and crossing the street. So when a cat is at the side of the road, a female cat will look both ways, assessing the traffic before going out into the road and trying to cross it. A male cat is like, I don't need to look, I'm just going. I'm just gonna risk it. And that felt very true to life to humans
Yeah, I
as
was gonna
well.
say.
So,
Yeah.
also in Belgium, they did an experiment that you might have heard of 37 cats delivering the mail, where they drove them out into the Belgian countryside and put like little collars, waterproof collars with a little tube, and then put mail in it, and then just let them free. And every single cat managed to arrive back at their house within 24 hours.
Wow.
And then it was actually a very successful experiment, but then they thought like, well, no, we shouldn't do this. So then they just canceled the rest of the experiment. So it was a success, and they don't think cats should deliver the mail. They relied on humans and mail trucks, but because the cats were a little bit more unreliable. Some of them took very circuitous routes, but I love that story. And you just find these like little gems hidden in history, which is pretty cool.
Wow, I definitely need to get that book.
Yeah.
Well, then that
Oh, no.
brings us to your work at a shelter.
Mhm.
So how did that started? And yeah, what are the challenges of such work? Because I myself volunteered for a bit at a shelter and I found it really emotionally draining
Yeah.
because I just feel too much
Yeah.
and I just had to step away and sort of help from afar more like. But I
Hmm.
part of me always wants to go back to this kind of work because whenever I am able to help be any animals really, be it cats or be it hedgehogs in our garden,
Right.
it's such a feeling of fulfillment like nothing else.
Yes.
So yeah, but I also
Yeah.
know that I am very, very emotionally maybe not cut for it because I just feel too much. I
Yeah,
always
I
say,
I completely understand that. And let me just tell you a little bit of what I do first. So I am on the happy side of things, and I think that helps. So I'm kind of the cross section between humanity and cats, right? So I'm an adoptions counselor. So people come in, they say, I'm looking for a cat, say, I have a cat for you. And I get to be this kind of like kitty matchmaker. It's beautiful. I get to see these love stories develop every
hmm,
day of elderly women coming in, and they've lost their husbands, and they just need a cat, like they need
hmm,
it, and I'm able to help provide that for him and other them, and I think that's beautiful. And so you get to know the cats and you get to know the people. So I interview them and I try to think about who is like the perfect cat that we have right now. So usually we have about anywhere between like 60 to 120 cats in the facility.
hmm,
And it's a free roaming cat shelter. It's the only free roaming cat shelter that we have in the state of Georgia, where I live,
hmm.
which means that the cats are not in cages, which is great. At the same time, it makes them kind of tricky to find them when you're trying to adopt them. That's always the tricky bit of knowing who those cats are and where they hang out in the shelter and who they like to hang out with. And it's like, okay, I see Mowgli, so like Chessie isn't far behind. She must be somewhere over here. And we have microchip scanners, and then I scan the cat just to make sure I'm sending home the right cat with the right person. But to answer your question about the challenges of working in a cat shelter, almost every shift we have what's called a door dump, where someone comes up to the shelter and basically just dumps a cat
Oh
on
gosh.
the front step or in the lobby. And that's really hard because it's like, was that your cat? Did you find that cat? Obviously, the cat is very afraid at that point because they're being dropped into that place. And I sometimes we don't have room for it in the shelter, and we're no kill shelter. So every shelter cat that we take in, it's like, okay, that's now our responsibility. Like we're not giving up this cat. We have to care for it. And you don't really know. So I I end up taking a lot of cats home, waiting for a space to fill up in the shelter. So if we get a door dump, a lot of times I'm like, okay, I'm going to that's now my cat for a little bit, and I take it home, and we have like a setup in the downstairs bathroom, and I really hope that my rental agency isn't hearing this, because we're not actually allowed cats, but that is what I do. And there have been times where there have been, not to get too graphic about it, but very cats are in very, very bad shape who have been dumped to us. I've actually paid $800 to have a cat euthanized that I met 7 hours before. And that was those are the days that get really, really tricky, because I work on Sundays. We don't have our shelter vet in then. So if we need to get veterinary care, it's on the volunteers. So I just pay all this money for cats that I've just met, and that can get tricky, not just emotionally, but also financially, of trying to make those decisions of looking at your bank account and looking at this kitten who's injured. It's like, well, obviously I'm going to save you. Obviously I am, but I don't have the money for it, but it's going to happen to do it. So, for me, the trickiest part is when I see cats that I've adopted out that I think are going to a really, really good home that are returned, and are returned in worse shape. That's when I get like, did I misread the situation? Like, did I trusted this person with you, and now I'm seeing you and you're being returned in a trash can. Like, and you're fine, but like you're also being returned in a trash can. And like, why, like that just really, that's the stuff that really kind of breaks my heart. But you have to, I try to have, I've seen, and maybe this makes me sound really jaded, but like I've seen enough of those situations now that I'm like, okay, Chessie, you were just returned in an airtight trash can. You're really warm, but I've just given you water, and actually you're cuddling me now, and you're fine. Like, if you're a cat that was in a bad situation, I'm glad that you have been returned to our facility where we can take care of you, and you're going to be loved, and you're going to get a second chance, and like we're going to make sure that next time is better for you. And you just have to go back to that mentality of like, okay, the cat is safe. And even if the cat is in very, very bad shape, it's like, okay, you're loved here, and we're gonna love you here. Sorry. I just get like emotional about it. Like it's that's how you have to view it, is you are now in a place where you're gonna get help.
It's like, honestly, if anybody's listening who doesn't have a cat, go to a cat shelter, get a cat, because every cat is a character, and it's not just an animal. It's like you're gonna get a proper partner and companion, and like,
and that's what I try to counsel people with adoptions. And a lot of people apologize for taking too much time selecting a cat, where they're like in the shelter for an hour, and they're like, I'm so sorry we're taking so much of your time. And it's like, no, I want you to be sure. I want you to fall in love. Because this cat, especially if you're selecting a kitten, or even if you're selecting a cat that's like 8-9 years old, this is a very long commitment. It's like a marriage, or like having another kid. It's 20 years, maybe. I mean, if you're lucky. So you want to be sure about that cat. And it's very, very fulfilling. And you just hear so many wonderful stories about people just completely even just turning their lives around. And one of my favorite things is adopting senior cats to seniors, and just seeing the bond there and the instant connection, and just knowing that both of their lives are going to be immeasurably enriched by this relationship and by the connection.
That's very true. So we talked about writing, we talked about your work at a cat shelter, but you're also a mother. So I'm wondering, how do you manage to do it all?
I don't. I cut out so many things in my life, and I would say that the answer for me is minimalism, and that's something that a lot of Americans don't really adopt. But I don't have that much stuff in my house, and through the last 4 years, I've really tried to just pare down my life, both emotionally and also physically in my physical environment of what are the things that I can get rid of so that I'm not just becoming a stuff manager. Because I think that there's, talking about motherhood, was this study that Americans actually have 87% of the world's toys, but like 30% of the world's children. And it just doesn't make any sense, is that we're always like cleaning and
Mm.
managing things. And I knew that that was something that I could realistically do, is just get rid of some stuff. So that's been a process. I think that over the years, I've also cultivated an intense sense of focus of that I can stop, drop, and write. Like I do not need to get myself with candles and music and scents and all of these things. Of if I have that spare time and my son is napping, because I also stay at home with him, so I'm like a stay-at-home writer mom. Like he doesn't go to daycare, and he doesn't go to school yet because he's not even 2. So we're together, and I try to do creative things with him to keep myself in that creative mindset. So we go to the cat shelter a lot together, and he goes and he pets the kittens, and I think about kittens, and I think about creativity, and I listen to podcasts with him in the car. And I think that that really helps his language skills, as well as we're not just listening to baby music all the time, although we do that occasionally. So just trying to keep myself in that I'm a mother, but I'm also a writer. And I think it's important, especially for boys, I think, to see their moms working and to see women having roles outside of the home, even if that they
Mm.
are inside the home as well. So I try to always imprint upon him that, like, I am your mom. I'm not just your mom. I'm also a writer and I do these other things. And he'll come to book events with me. We go to story time a lot. Sometimes I'm leading the story time and he's just listening to the story time. So try to incorporate him as much as I can into my life. But a lot of the things we do are going to the library and going to bookstores and doing events together, and going to the nature center. We love going to the nature center together. That's our favorite activity. And it's fun because a lot of my favorite things have now become his favorite things. So he'll ask to go to the library, ask to go to the nature center. It's like, well, great. I wanted to go there anyway. So perfect.
That's really great.
Yeah.
But I really admire that focus that you said that you have, that you can just sit down and write whenever you have a moment, because that's something I personally struggle with. And especially when my niece wasn't here, I was like, it was such a mayhem that I just couldn't like just stop and focus on something creative. Like I felt like I am unable to do that. So,
Yeah,
but from what you're saying, it's all about practice, I suppose.
it is. And I think that my initial instinct after postpartum is, when he was napping, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go chill out on my phone for 5 minutes on social media and just scroll for a little bit and get my mind transition. And that never works, because once you start going down that social media rabbit hole, or anytime picking up your phone, your mind is just being pulled in a different unhelpful direction. And so in a way, it's about self-discipline. I'm not saying that I'm always great at this. Sometimes I'm very, very bad at this, of staying off of social media, staying off of places that I know are not going to be a benefit to me creatively. If I have that urge to pick up my phone during nap time, but I'm not really, really feeling the writing, I'll be like, okay, you need to read a book. And then when I'm reading that book, something will click about my own story, and I think, oh, thank you, Sally Rooney. That makes sense that Connell and Marianne are reacting that way, and maybe my characters should react a little bit more in this manner. And so it always kind of dovetails. So if you're not in that focus mode, doing something that is going to help get you there, instead of just saying, well, I'm not into it right now, I'm just going to go look at my phone.
That's a great advice. I'm gonna write it down. Um, okay, so what is next for you? What's your next book?
So my next book, which hopefully it will get published. I'm going in a kind of completely different direction. So for the last couple of years, I've been writing adult spy romances. I wanted to do something that was honestly, after I had a really, really bad sleep deprivation experience with
Mm.
my son, who actually ended up, we found out he had sleep apnea, which is why he was waking up so much in the night, as he just like couldn't breathe when he was sleeping. And I did not, I just did not feel like it. I had it in me to write something that was super, super light and fluffy and fun. I felt
Mm.
just almost like grief, like
Yeah.
just weighed down by that. And I knew that I wanted to write a book that was about a woman who was moving through a very traumatic experience in a very interesting way. So I can't really say more about it, but it is it's adult speculative fiction. It's a romance, but it's more of like the book club category. So almost like Time Traveler's Wife, if you've ever read that
No,
book,
yes, I
or
love
something.
that one. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of that vibe. Where
Mm.
I think my agents are pitching it as like the Midnight Library meets the Notebook. So like a really
Okay.
relationship, but with a twist. Yeah,
Okay. That
yeah.
sounds
So I'm
interesting for
almost
sure.
done.
There was actually one more thing that I wanted to ask in terms of the children's books, which was because you mentioned yourself that your the book before My Life of a Cat was about a dog. And noticed that you also written a book about a mouse, I think. Was it a mouse?
Yeah. So I've written a book about a dog. So this is Always Clementine, which is about a hyper intelligent, like the world's smartest mouse who was bred in a lab. And it was loosely based on my experience growing up of my mom actually adopted into our family a former research rabbit who actually still had the research tag in her ear, who was liberated through criminal means by my kindergarten teacher. So it was kind of this whole thing of we ended up having a
Okay.
research rabbit living in our kitchen. Her name was Strawberry. She was very, very friendly bunny, except with men who she hated because obviously
Mm.
men were the ones who were conducting research on her. But I just really remember my mom, like we took her to the vet and we didn't have really any money at the time. And my mom paid $100, which is a huge amount for us at that time, to have the research tag removed from Strawberry's ear because she really wanted her to have that experience of what it meant to feel free and
Mm.
actually being outside in the backyard and the sunshine and all of that. And that had such a huge impact on me as a child. And I wanted to write specifically about research animals and basically her journey to freedom, but it's not a sad book.
Okay.
And I want to say that it's not as there obviously are sad parts in it, but I wanted to write about it in really like an uplifting way of like what would freedom feel like for a mouse who is also hyper intelligent. So kind of in the same vein as Leonard, of she's like a mouse but also not really. Like she's been injected with this DNA that's made her like very, very smart, but she's still at heart a mouse. So, and I've also written a book called Shadow Fox, which is about, which is actually a fantasy about what if the chosen one was actually a fox and really didn't care at all about helping the people that she was supposed to help. Because she's so
I
yeah, so
love your
that's
ideas. They're so cool.
so I'd love to write another middle grade book. I've had an idea, like a horse idea for a while. I also really wanted to do a retelling of The Secret Garden, but from the perspective of the robin. That's also been something that I've kind of been carrying around. So, but I just don't have time to do everything. And
Mhm.
this kind of adult idea had been following me for maybe about 6 years. And I just knew that now was the right
Get
time
it
to
out.
out. And after that, yeah, I'd also really love to do like a Christmas Santa's reindeer one, but from like an interesting perspective. So I have lots of things. I always have lots of ideas.
So have you grew up around a lot of animals since your ideas are all about animals?
Yeah. Yeah. So my mom was always bringing animals home, always, and
Mm.
to the kind of disgruntlement of my father, but my dad is one of those people who I was like, no more animals, no more animals. And then you see him just like covered in animals on the couch watching television. He's just like, oh, I love it. So we grew up with a lot of dogs, a lot of cats. My kind of early childhood soul dog was a dog named Sally, who I actually translated our experience. And I'll just tell one more kind of like mystical dog story. So this picture book I wrote called Everywhere with You is about a girl and a dog who are on different sides of a fence. And it was the story of my childhood dog, Sally, who she was actually our neighbor's dog at the time. And I would go out to her every night as a kid and I would read her books through the fence. And I sold this book just with the words. It was given by my publisher, Candlewick, to a really, really fabulous illustrator named Devin Halsworth. And she came back with the drawings, and it was Sally. Like, she had drawn Sally, not knowing who my dog was. Like, I didn't ever send her photos. I didn't even tell what kind of breed she was to Devin or my publishers. But she came back, and the dog was a black and white spotted German short-haired pointer, which is actually like a really rare breed and a really rare dog to have black and white. I was kind of like breathless when I tell this story. And I said, Devin, like, how did you know that that was my dog? And she said, no, that's my dog. She had, at the time, her dog's name was Philo, and she had a black and white German short-haired pointer.
Wow.
And he was actually in the process of passing away, and this was her memorial to him. So it's like a memorial to my dog, and she had the same dog, and we were sharing photos, and it was like the same dog. It was just really, I always say I don't believe in like magic and things, except when it comes to books and animals, because the two just really mesh well. Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy. That's beautiful, amazing.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to ask the aquarium that you describe in My Life as a Cat. Is that supposed to be like a rescue center basically for
in my mind it is. It's based on an aquarium I used to go to as a kid that was not a rescue aquarium, and I kind of wanted to turn it into one because the aquarium that I used to go to always felt a little sad to me, and I thought what would happen if it was actually like a rescue. And so in My Life as a Cat, there's as you know, a town called Turtle Beach, and that is actually based on a real town called Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, which is where I used to vacation as a kid. And all of the main girl in the book is me. She's me as a child. And I often think, people are like, you're so creative. I'm like, am I? Or do I just write about the things that have happened to me and just put myself in every book, under every circumstance, just different parts of my personality. Yeah.
Yeah, which is another beautiful thing about that book, about the character of Olive, or as we just learned, you, really. That how so many of us feel like we're the weird ones and that we don't fit in. And I love how Leonard, I'm not sure if I think he only thinks that, but he thinks, how can you be weird when you're human? You're human. How can you be weird? And I just love that. And at the same time, I found like Leonard is also such a great representation of all of us who feel like we're like we're fighting some kind of imposter syndrome. Like we're human, but we don't really feel like we're good enough. And at the same time, he's a cat, but he's not really a cat. And I just found all these great representations of what we actually go through in such a fun way.
Yeah. And I always, when I write middle grade books for this kind of genre age group, I always like to pair the animal with a human that can be their foil, that can kind of work with each other, and they can pull different things out of each other. And I try to think about what type of child would be friends with this type of animal. And that's how they develop. So the animal develops first, and then the kid develops as a reaction to the animal. So that's usually how I go about it.
It's really interesting. So given all that you have on your plate, what are some of your favorite ways to slow down?
I really love yoga. I don't do it nearly as much as I want to, but I do try to at least get 15 minutes in every night before bed, and I really, really love that. I love listening to music. I love tension-free television shows. Sometimes if I have an extra few minutes, I've just bought a rower. So that's going to be really good. I love rowing. I wish I had like an actual river that I could row on, but a mechanical rower works just as well too. I love walking my dog. Love really nice showers as well. I know it's just so simple, but just a really nice hot shower does the trick. And I always come up with my best ideas in the shower. So it
I can relate to that.
Yeah, it's just something about the rhythm of it and the warmth and being able to slow down that allows your mind to
there's so many times that I just rush out of the bathroom to quickly write something down before it evaporates from my mind. So I can totally relate to that. And what are you currently reading? Are you reading anything at all?
What am I currently reading? I'm reading a bunch of things. I'm rereading a book called The Paper Palace by Miranda Cowley Heller, which is a book that I find from a writing perspective and a craft perspective just extremely gorgeous. What else am I reading? I'm also doing a reread of Normal People because that's one of my favorite books of all time by Sally Rooney. Yeah, just rereading a lot of things, I think. And I tend to do that when I am creating something and when I'm trying to reach towards a specific vibe, not necessarily a specific sort of plot. I never read books when I'm writing that are too similar to the one that I'm trying to write. But I like try to immerse myself in the feeling that I'm trying to give to readers. So those are the two books that I'm currently rereading.
Makes sense to me. On that note, I absolutely loved rereading your book, My Life as a Cat, which, by the way, found me at a time when I was actually in London. And at the time, I had a partner there, and the relationship wasn't going great. So it wasn't a great time. And I was at London's Angel at the time where there was I don't know if you heard of James Bowen and the Street Cat Bob.
Oh, yeah.
So they were just installing the statue there at Angel after he passed away. And Waterstones, that was just next to it, had like a special shop window with just cat books for the occasion.
Okay.
And your book was one of them. And I just, the cover just caught my attention and the title. And I'm like, I don't know, that book just called me somehow. And then I read it after we actually broke up with my partner. And it was such a comfort to me. And now I'm not going through any difficult times, thank God. But I really thought last night when I finished it reading again that for anybody who feels like they need to remember how privileged they are to just be alive and experience life, just read this book. That's like the one book I would recommend to everybody who needs to sort of remember the miracle of being alive and on the earth. It's beautiful.
I'm thinking maybe I should reread it. That sounds good. It's funny because I go to all these school events and sometimes kids ask me very specific questions about things in the book, and I'm just like, gosh, kid, I don't remember. I wrote that so long ago. That sounds great. I probably should reread it. I never read my own work, but maybe this time make an exception.
I think that sometimes we when we write, I always say, like, with the things I'm really proud of, I always say I downloaded them from the universe. And sometimes when I like struggle writing, can't really get anything on the page, I would go to my own stuff and read to sort of remind myself that I can write. And
Yes.
sometimes I would be really surprised, like, wow, have I written this? Like, that's actually a cool thought. Like,
Yeah.
like really
Yeah.
surprised, like, wow, I wrote this. I
I
don't remember
feel,
it.
yeah, I feel the same. I always have my husband read my work first too. And sometimes he's like, wow, this is really good. I'm like, why do you sound so surprised? Why are you surprised by that? So, but in a nice way.
And if you were to like say one New Year's wish for our listeners, like one thing you would like people to take into the new year, what would that be?
Rest and recovery. I think that there is so much, especially at the new year, of let's make better versions of ourselves.
Mhm.
And that usually requires things like increased productivity, increased movement, increase. Sometimes you need to take things away to increase. And this is something that I've been working on a lot, is allowing myself more sleep. So just look at your sleep. Are you getting enough of it? Are you drinking enough water? Are you just chilling enough? Maybe let's focus on those things in the new year.
Now, inspired by Leonard, I invite you this month to go back to basics and truly appreciate the little things you take for granted. Winter is the perfect setting for it. Pay attention to all the little things you see on your daily basis and see how wonderful they are. Just imagine you're a cat, if that helps you, or any other animal like Alex Howard suggested for us in the Christmas special episode last month. Look at the world through the eyes of someone who's seeing all the wonders for the very first time. What better time to try that than in the quiet of winter? I know many people dislike January and would like to skip it, which I think is so unfortunate. January offers such a beautiful opportunity not just to practice mindfulness or catfulness, but also to truly give back to yourself without any distractions. Just make this month delightfully nourishing and delightfully wonderful. Last night, I rewatched one of my favorite movies, The Kung Fu Panda, and once again stopped at Master Oogway's wise words. Yesterday's is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. And I feel even with all those New Year's resolutions pressure, or the boredom of January many feel, we just miss that gift we are being offered. So let's just focus on the now, embrace it, find ways to enjoy it, and perhaps rewatch Kung Fu Panda. It's such a good one to cheer you up and start the year with. What gifts can you find in January? And in today? I wonder. And that's it for today's episode. Before we meet again, don't forget to check out Cat Coach Diaries on Substack for more cat wisdom at moniforce.substack.com or catcoachdiaries.substack.com. And if you're up for some winter magic, tune to my Winter Evenings Magic Instrumentals playlist on Spotify or the official Cat Coach Café playlist. Both links are in the show notes. If you would consider leaving a rating, a comment, or follow the Cat Coach Café on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else you listen, we would be so very grateful, as that would allow us not only reach a wider audience, but also to continue doing what we do and bring you more podcast episodes in the future. Next time, we'll discuss how we can all have a year of mystical thinking with author Emma Howarth, in a conversation that will truly prepare you for the new cycle ahead. So don't miss it. Until then, stay cozy, stay warm, and cuddle those cats of yours.